our fourth colleague on the show, Godfred Akotobuaf, I don't know whether in following the Senegal match, he was trying to score the goal from his living room, but he has a knee. I don't know what happened to his knee, so he's not been able to join us in studio. Godfred, what happened to your knee that you've not been able to join us on the program today?
Well, as a talented footballer myself, I spend my Sunday mornings with other talented community members. So one defender took offense at my excessive show of skill and decided to blow my knees out. But suffice to say, I'm doing much better today.
So did he give you a long-term injury or just a short-term injury?
I think we are looking at a very short-term injury. Hopefully, but I should be back on my feet by tomorrow, Wednesday.
Okay. So, but were you able to watch the game, the Senegal Morocco game?
Yes, I watched the game in its entirety. I followed it.
All right. So first, was the outrage of the Senegalese justified in the disallowed goal and the penalty, the walkout from, of course, as experienced journalist who covers these kind of things? Was that outrage justified? And number two, if they had walked out and not continued the game, what would have happened?
Well, here's the thing. To give this proper context, we must go to the build-up to the final. Now, in the build-up to the final, Senegal had issued a four-line communique, basically, where they had raised concerns about security arrangements, hotel arrangements, the closeness of the inadequacy of their training camp, because they said it exposed them to potential spying from Morocco. There had also been concerns generally, particularly if you look at the Morocco game against Nigeria, that the system was favoring Morocco to win the tournament, perhaps as reward for taking up the hosting. And so the mindset generally was one of these people will take any advantage they can have on the pitch. And I think that is what fed into the circumstances that we saw in what I must frankly say was a very good game of football right up until that point. Now, here's the thing. When Abdoulaye Seck's header rebounded off and Ismail Assar headed in, that was in injury time for Senegal's first goal that was declined. Referee Indala had already whistled. His whistle had gone before the ball went in. And so, legitimately, one can say the referee had done his job. We can have a conversation about the appropriateness of the call, whether indeed Abdoulaye Seck, who was called for a foul, was indeed fouling, because Ashraf Hakimi was also busy fouling him. And there are those who are of the opinion that it was a soft foul to call by the referee to disallow Senegal that goal. Then we get to the other end, where we had the penalty incident, where there was pressure from Senegal led by El Hadj Malik Diop on Brahim Diaz, who I must say has been and was up to that point one of the best players of the tournament, one top goal scorer. Fouled Brahim Diaz. Again, two things can happen and they can be true. It indeed was a penalty at the time. So, but the general response of Senegal basically was a feeling of injustice, considering they felt a goal that looked like a genuinely good goal had been disallowed and VAR had not intervened. The referee in this particular penalty case had originally ignored it, but Brahim Diaz and basically everybody else was in his face urging a VAR call until the referee was called to the VAR. So it did look like there was some kind of extra pressure being brought to bear on referee Indala to make the call. And all that added to the sense of injustice that Senegal was feeling up until that point. That led to the circumstances that we saw where Coach Papi Thiaw, feeling that his team could not get a fair shake, again, based on the context that I have given you, asked them to walk off. Sadio Mane staying on the pitch and saying, look, guys, let's get back on and face this like men. And I think that is one of the most epic things I have ever seen in my years of covering African football. Sadio Mane, kudos off to him. I think he walks away from the AFCON as a true legend of the competition. His stance to say, look, whatever happens, let's stay on the pitch and let's fight it like men. see these results through was good. Now you ask about would the game have been forfeited? Yes, the game would have been forfeited if Senegal had not appeared on the pitch, because that is what a forfeit basically is. You refuse to continue the game. The referee would have had no alternative than to call an end to the game and award the final to Morocco. Although I doubt that would have been the kind of final organizers, FIFA presidents, and the rest of the world would have wanted to see it. Perhaps it would have been the first final we have seen forfeit in such a manner. But altogether, I think it's just the build-up to it that led to the circumstances that we saw on the pitch and robbed us of what genuinely, I think, up until that point, was a really, really good game of football.
So, Senegal and Morocco, deserving finalists, are they the two best African teams? What can Ghana learn in 1 minute?
Oh, clearly what we can learn is success can never be accidental. And I think Ghana has become maestros at finding success by accident and thinking that there is a plan. But if you look at the investment that Morocco has put in this game, the kind of decisions that have been made, there's always been a deliberate attention to bringing in the best players of Moroccan heritage. There's been a deliberate interest in creating, in building the best infrastructure. Same for Senegal. If you go and see the kind of infrastructure they have developed, the attention to grassroots football, in addition to recruiting properly players of Senegalese heritage who were perhaps born in other countries, especially France, and convincing them that, look, this is your best chance at winning trophies. If you look at the transitions, and I think also just making the hard decisions on the bench. If you look at Papi Thiaw and some of the decisions that he has made, there were games where Lamine Camara was on the bench, although Lamine Camara started the final. Lamine Camara is one of the most wanted central midfielders in European football at the moment. You cannot mention 5 central midfielders in European football at the moment and leave out Lamine Camara. He starts some games and there are certain games on the bench. You look at somebody like Papi Gueye, who has stepped in, he's been around for a while. But you look at Mamadou Sarr, who came in as centre back for Senegal yesterday as well. Young man, born in France, but they've been able to convince him to come. And he was outstanding. And so for Ghana, we sit back and ask ourselves, are these decisions we can also make? That attention to detail in call-ups, that attention to building a system that will develop greatness for the grassroots. Thank you, Bernard.
Godfred, we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully, if your knee gets better. That was my colleague, Godfred Akotobuafu.